For those that may be interested, would you like to know how I cook?
Sure.
I can give you the nickel tour about how I do that and clean up.
Should I come around the other side?
If you would, please.
Okay. So this is the back, coming around to the front. See, you don't put a canopy or a tarp up when you camp. You just kind of, one thing I like about your setup is you're always ready to go in like 2 minutes.
Always. I can be out of here, even if I'm fully set up for camping, I can be out of here in 10 minutes. Well, firstly, I bought this this like 9-inch footstool, and then what I do is I put an old pillow on top of that to be comfortable, so that when I sit and cook, I'm not sitting on the floor. Virtually everything I have, including the refrigerator and almost everything else, came from Amazon. Amazon has been very convenient to work with. So I cook exclusively on this propane cook stove. This is a very common model that's used, and basically all it is a cook stove threaded onto the top of a green cylinder, and provides lots of BTUs for cooking. And what I do is, because the cylinders come about 5 1/4 or so for a 2-pack, what I did is I bought a refiller valve, okay, and I thread that onto my 20-pound tank, and then I go ahead and refill the cylinders at a cost of maybe 60 cents each.
I also noticed if you have a piece of tile down there, a ceramic tile to help make it level. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have an even surface to cook with. The downside to this stove is that if you have a slippery bottomed pan, they will tend to slide off. Or if it's not on a level surface, there's always the problem with tipping.
Right.
So the next stove I get is going to be one that sits flush on the ground. I try and cook mainly with fresh food that I keep in my refrigerator, and there's not a whole lot else that needs to be said. This refrigerator is a Winter, W-H-Y-N-T-E-R refrigerator, and it's 65 quart. It cost about $500 new. I bought it, and then I improved the insulating abilities, not because it was really necessary, but because I thought any improvement in efficiency would be worthwhile. There are other models that are out there, or makes that are out there, called Dometic, which is a great portable refrigerator, as well as ARB. They all fit the bill. This thing runs on about 70 watts when it's actually doing cooling, and I have that hardwired to the battery, so it's operating as 12 volt. It's designed to either run 12 volt or 120.
So it's important to note that these special refrigerators aren't like the ones that come in a Class A or even a Class B, like a Road Trek. These are made to run off solar. The ones that you buy in Class A's, B's, and C's are made, even though they may have a 12 volt setting, they're really made for you to get to a spot and then turn on the propane, and the propane tank usually lasts about 3 weeks or so. So the thing about these refrigerators is they're made to be out on solar and never run your battery down.
Right now, it's, what time would you say it is, James?
It's about 20 minutes to 1 p.m.
Yeah, and this thing has been, this thing's always running. I mean, it's always available for, to cycle on and off. And currently my batteries are at 13.6 volts, and I'm drawing 84 watts from the solar. So supporting this electrically is a non-issue.
Let's go ahead and just talk about the specs of the batteries. If somebody were wanting to build out a van like you've got it, or could take into consideration how you've got it, why do you have the batteries that you have and the solar system that you have, and how big is it?
Wow. Well, there's a lot to that. This solar system is balanced. I figured a 245 watt, 36 volt solar panel on the roof would match up well with a 224 amp hour set of batteries. Those are two AGM 6 volts, so they don't outgas. There is no danger associated with having them here. In series, they equal 12 volt. By putting them in series, that means they're cross-connected.
Okay.
Very simple thing to do.
What's that thing on the wall?
This is a 50 amp bus, which is between the batteries in my 300 watt inverter. And what it does is I can go ahead and power off the inverter and work with the inverter if I need to. So this is basically like the breaker box on your house.
Main switch.
Main switch.
Does it act like a breaker?
Yeah, it does actually.
So it acts like a breaker, and you can also use it to shut your power off if you're going to be messing with your electronics.
Oh, I said 50 amp, but this one is an 80 amp.
Okay.
So anyway, the batteries are Sun Extender, Sun Xtender, and they're a pretty nice battery. I fully expect to get 10 years out of them. I make a point of not deep draining them. I rarely go below 70%. So they're always charged, and it's important to do that because if you deep drain them regularly, it shortens their life. And what they do is they provide power to my refrigerator, to my inverter, and gosh, that's about it.
What do they cost?
Oh, these babies are about 300 a pop.
And how many amp hours are they each?
224 amp hours.
Okay.
When you put them in series, you double the voltage, so they go from 6 volts to 12 volts. So see, these are two 6 volt batteries. In series, they equal 12 volt. Now, if you had two 12 volt batteries that you wanted to put together, you would put them together in parallel. But when you put them in parallel, what you do is you double the amperage, the amp hours, but the voltage remains the same. So you wind up with 12 volts, but if they were 224 amp hour batteries, then you wind up with 448 amp hour batteries.
What, just like nutshell, what are amp hours and how are they important for those that don't know? Technically, for our purposes, all cars are a 12 volt system. If it's a car or an RV, it's made to be a 12 volt DC system, which is direct current. And the amp hours are important to notate because your devices are going to use so many amp hours a day, and while they're using amp hours, they're going to be pulling some of that power directly from the panel while the sun's hitting the panel. But at nighttime, when the sun's not hitting the panel, they're going to be drawing those amp hours directly from the batteries. So we want to make sure that we have devices that we're using that are pulling off of that 12 volt system that are using less than the amp hours that we can provide from the batteries at a measurement of half. We don't ever want to drain a battery more than half. And it doesn't matter if it's the batteries on this system, a Class A Toyota Prius, a DeWalt battery. You never want to drain them more than half because then they won't recharge and live as long.
That's it. Amp hours in my mind is the measure of available current. So, and it's all got to be factored just as James explained.
So you've got the batteries, you've got the solar that powers the batteries, but the solar panels don't talk directly to the batteries. They talk to an intermediate device, which is a solar controller, and in your case it's an MPPT controller. There's either a PWM controller or an MPPT controller. You've got the latter. Talk to us about that.
Well, this is a Morningstar TriStar 45 amp rated charge controller. It's a MPPT, which is maximum power point tracking, And what it does, okay, hopefully you can see this. Let me give you a close-up here. Okay.
That's a nice one. What'd
Yeah.
that run you?
But this was $400.
And why would you spend $400 on a controller when there's PWM ones out there for, heck, you could probably get a Chinese one for $25 or $30. Why would you spend so much?
Well, and for those that are in a position where it's tight for them financially, that's a good route to go. It really is. I mean, the advantage of an MPPT is that it harvests more energy than a PWM does. And the technicals about that I'd have to look at. But MPPT charge controllers, I would, in my opinion, they really are preferable. Okay, this does a number of things. Because I have a 36 volt, 245 watt panel on the roof, the charge controller has got to transform that power from 36 volts to 12 volts, so it's compatible with 12 volt batteries.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing it does is it determines what the charge state of the batteries is, so that it doesn't overcharge them. That way, and I'm sure there's some algorithm being used in the charge controller to be able to charge those batteries to maximum benefit. Okay, and then yet another thing this does is this has a temperature sensor that's included in the package that determines what the current temperature is of the batteries and adjusts the charge to the batteries accordingly, because even temperature makes a difference. And that's basically what it is. This charge controller did not come with a panel that provides history data. That was another $100 more. So altogether I got about $500 wrapped up into this. And it should last, based on the Morningstar reputation, a long time, I'm hoping.
Okay, cool. So just to recap, you have to, in order to have power in your van, you're going to want a 12 volt system. You have batteries run the 12 volt system. In order to charge the batteries, you're going to need a solar panel or a wind rotor. Some people have those, but solar panels are the most common. You need a solar controller to be able to control the juice going in to charge the batteries, and there's two different kinds for that. If all of this sounds Greek to you, you can go to Northern Arizona Wind and Solar, and they'll sell you kits or they'll consult with you. I bought a kit, and with my kit I got the MPPT controller, and if I could go back and change that, I would, or pardon me, I got the PWM controller. I'd rather it be the MPPT for another $100, $150. I could have got that. So I would really recommend coming out with the MPPT. You do get a difference in value that's worth it. So that's how the basic system runs to give you power. Now, how do we get that power harvested? We've got a 12 volt refrigerator. We've got some other 12 volt items on the van. If you can get all your stuff 12 volt, you can even get a laptop charging cord that's 12 volt for the laptop that you have now. If you check with the manufacturer and make sure that you get the right one, it's always good to do that, because that way you're getting straight power off the battery and it doesn't have to be converted into AC. Some things are going to be AC, so let's talk about that. The AC is the same power, it just means alternating current, developed by Nikola Tesla, by the way, because Thomas Edison wanted everything to be DC, and he won in Europe, but he didn't win in the United States, because when it comes to AC, you can transform it, and you can set up transformers at different stages along an AC system. So we've got an inverter here that converts his 12 volt power to AC power, and inverters, there can be two kinds. There's either pure sine or modified sine, which is the wave that it converts in. I use all modified sine and I haven't had any problems. Some people really want to be purists and use the pure sine. It's a heck of a lot more. Mike has a pure sine. Why don't you tell us a little bit about why you have it, how much it costs, how much wattage it is, why it's the wattage that it is. We're just going to keep going until everybody's completely confused. Here
Okay.
you go, man.
Well, including us.
Yeah, exactly.